Sure. The Bavarian Intelligence Agency, Bavaria is a southern state in Germany, released a intelligence document on May 17th of this year. And the intelligence agency has the task to protect the state of Bavaria against threats to its democracy, security threats, for example, from terrorist organizations like Hezbollah or right-wing extremist organizations, neo-Nazi organizations, etc. This report contained information about Iran's alleged illicit nuclear and missile proliferation activities. And one key section of the report that dealt with proliferation, that means the spread of atomic, biological, and chemical weapons of mass destruction, said that Iran, this is the language of the Berlin intelligence report, seeks to expand its conventional military weapons arsenal with weapons of mass destruction. The report, as I mentioned, defines weapons of mass destruction as chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons of mass destruction. So that's a startling revelation that took place because the report was based on the year 2018, although it was released this year, took place covering the year 2018. And I should note the report cited one example of a illegal sanctions evasion scheme to send an electronic, a very sophisticated electronic welding device or machine, excuse me, to Iran. And this was a fictitious way of sending it because the end user of this machine was described as Malaysia, the country of Malaysia, but the end user was in fact Iran. The Germans intercepted this plot and convicted a German businessman who sought to send this machine to Iran that could have been used in a missile carrier system to send rockets to other countries. And this missile carrier system could also be used for very powerful rockets. Well, no, it's not an effort to justify a war against Iran, this German intelligence report from Bavaria, because over the years, there have been a number of actually scores of German intelligence reports from the 16 different states in Germany. Germany is a decentralized country with states, and each state has its own domestic intelligence agency. And many of these states have released reports showing that the clerical regime in Tehran continues to work on a nuclear program, continues to work to obtain technology for its missile program and a nuclear program. There have been statements from these different intelligence agencies since 2015 saying that Iran has not stopped its work on a nuclear program, and there have been multiple efforts to acquire illicit technology. That is, Iran's regime has used agents, middlemen, different people in Germany because German technology is highly valued in Iran. So this report just confirms what we already know, that Iran continues to be, when I say Iran, I should note, I mean Iran's regime, for your viewers when I mention that word. I'm talking about Khamenei and Rouhani and the regime, continues to seek this type of illicit technology. And it does not mean that this report is a pretext or is going to be used in some way to justify a war against Iran's regime, because the U.S. Trump administration and the Europeans are not in the business of seeking a war. They're in the business right now, at least from the American side, of applying a maximum pressure campaign to influence a change in Khamenei's behavior and the behavior of the regime and the IRGC. So I would put that aside for a moment and just note again that these reports, and I'm not just talking about one report, I've documented in my reporting and my analysis since 2015, there have been multiple reports that show Iran is engaged in illicit nuclear and missile proliferations activity. The question now is, what will the Europeans and the Trump administration do with this new intelligence? It strikes me that the Europeans have to take this report very seriously from Bavaria and consider joining the U.S. Administration's sanctions against Iran to stop this type of activity, and also consider human rights sanctions against Iran. I was the first journalist to report that Iran executed a man in January based on an anti-gay charge. That led the U.S. to, or played a role, I should say, in the U.S. administration calling for a decriminalization of homosexuality across the world. So, I would also hope that in addition to looking at taking this report very seriously about Iran's nuclear program and missile program, that the Europeans would consider new human rights sanctions against Iran's regime. It's a real pleasure to talk with your outlet and Iranians in the diaspora, because I'm a huge, passionate fan of Iranian Persian culture. I hope one day, before I pass out of existence, that I'll be able to visit one of the greatest countries in the world. So thank you.